Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Junus. You're now tuned in to The Star in You. Thank you for being here with me today. Please subscribe, like the page, and share with everyone you know. Recently on June 20th, 2017, we lost an icon of rap who contributed heavily to the sound of the golden age of hip-hop. He had this coolness to his sound that flowed melodically on any type of beat. The way he would give imagery about the streets always gave off a soft tone, even though his penmanship was pretty dark, filled with darkness, you know. So it gave off a cool balance between the two. So it was very easy to listen to and then just take it all in without, really getting angry, but coming off more of an understanding. And I like that. We're talking about our brother Prodigy. May he rest in power. We give condolences to his family, his friends, and all his loved ones. May he be reincarnated into a bountiful life with all his resources still intact, so he can continue to evolve and continue to spread and continue to learn about life. R.I.P. Yeah, so before we begin breaking down Prodigy's numbers, there's one thing I want to share with you guys. Is that I didn't know that Prodigy had such a musical background, so much influences before him. And I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, his grandfather was a saxophone player and his name was Bud Johnson. And his great uncle Keck Johnson was trombonist. And they both contributed to the bebop era of jazz during the 1940s. His mother Fatima was a member of the Crystals. And his father was a member of the doo-wop music, a group called the Chanters. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I want to shine some light on that. Oh yeah, also, he actually was signed like at 16 by Jive Records, and he was not featured for a song. He wasn't credited for a song on Boys in the Hood on the soundtrack called Too Young. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't know he was on for so long, So yes, we're gonna begin and now break down his numbers. So Prodigy was born November 2nd, 1974, which makes him a Scorpio. He's a water sign. Also, he's fixed, meaning that he's very consistent, has tunnel vision, very focused. Like, that's the kind of, out of all the fixed signs, you kind of depend on them. They're very reliable. Anything you need and you ask them for, they'll do it for you if they can, and they'll keep their word on that. Also, with Scorpios, they also have really good memory. Well, water signs in general have really good memory, meaning Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. They have good memory, so try not to cross them, especially Scorpios. Scorpios kind of have this vengefulness thing about them where once you cross them, and more than likely, they'll be one to get even with you. So make sure you watch your back on that step. But other than that, they do have the spiritual thing about them. Out of all the signs I bump into, everybody I know is a Scorpio. They're like in some kind of religion, or they're doing something spiritual. So they hold that deep within them, so they could keep calm, and well, I guess that's what keeps them grounded. And that's why they could keep focused in life to begin with, because in a way they have that rooted inside of them, whether it's looking for externally or internally. So. And Prodigy, you can see that, that Scorpio nature, that he's very strong, despite his conditions, his physical conditions internally. And he still kept focused. He dropped a lot of different LPs together with Havoc and solo. So that's what's up. That's a strong element. You can see that with Prodigy. Yeah, so Prodigy and his partner in crime, Havoc, formed the group Mobb Deep. And you know that infamous line, "Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks." Yeah, from Shook Ones, was infamous. It was on the Eminem soundtrack, 8 Mile. But his partner, Havoc, he's not an earth sign, but he's on the cusp coming off of it. He's a Gemini. And water sign and earth signs get along very well. You can see this as like water nourishing the earth, if you want to see it that way. So them being together, and he's coming literally right off the cuff. Like Gemini starts May 21st, same day as Biggie Smalls. So that means he still has a strong influence still. There's a strong influence with Taurus in him. So that connection between him and Havoc is, I mean, between him and Prodigy is very connected, because the signs are, those two signs are compatible, well, earth and water compatible. But there is kind of a twist. For some reason, they say esoterically, out of all the zodiacs, Taurus and Scorpios clash the most. I mean, yes, Taurus and Scorpios clash the most. And I was thought, like, why is that? Why does water, if water's nourishing earth, why do they clash? And I never got it, but then when you look at Drake, he had beef with Meek Mill and Chris Brown. And Drake's a Scorpio, and Meek Mill and Chris Brown are both Taurus. So there's something there. And I think there was a little conflict between Havoc and Prodigy at one point, but everything got settled and they were back to being cool again. So I guess there's a little bumpy bump head there, so you know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, so we're gonna now break down Prodigy's numbers. We're gonna start with the 11. The 11's a master number. It's very intuitive. It has a lot of vision. With the one, there's two ones, right? And the one in itself individually represents masculinity. It's a masculine number. It represents the magician. It represents priesthood. It represents the leader. It represents the beginning, taking initiative. And you have these two combined forces, two ones combust, you could only imagine that's just double the action, double the impact. Also, though, you could add the two. The 1 plus the 1 breaks down to a 2. This 2 now gives off a feminine energy. So it's like an undertone. So I don't know if you know a lot of Scorpios, but you'll notice, like for me, I know it's like Scorpios, they could be loud, but then there's times where they're just very quiet into themselves, very secretive. And that 2 number, that feminine number, where it's like feminine number is more spiritual and then the 1 is more masculine, more physical. So spirituality is more, quiet, more mysterious. So you see that with the Scorpio, like they're quiet, the way they move. But because the 2 1s are so strong and impactful, they could be very aggressive. So every time you see them work, they have strong endurance. Like, I don't know, any Scorpio I know, they stay working, they stay grinding. Like, the work ethic is crazy. Like, I don't think, as far as the drive, there's really no exaggeration. But, so you see that, those two playing each other out, the 11 and the 2 going back and forth. So you can see, like, in Mobb Deep, a lot of the instrumentation have, like, this dark kind of sound to it. Or even, like, the way Prodigy kind of presents himself, it's kind of in a mysterious way. And with Scorpios, they carry that ambiance for some reason. There's, like, something very dark about them. Sometimes they connect more with the dark than the light. To, like, kind of channel that in so they can understand all those things about them that they can wash away so they can eventually get to the light. So it's kind of like they're, like, in the final stages where we're still, like, trying to figure things out before we even get to that part. So they're like one of those, they're like one of the signs that can, like, really advance very fast spiritually because they're connected to those realms. And also, because of the 2 1s, being that Prodigy is Scorpio, he's probably the kind of guy, he'll tell you how it is, because like I said, 2 1s very alpha. So alpha males, what it is. Like, when they're not feeling something, they'll just confront it and they'll say, yo, I don't like that and that. And there's many times where you see Prodigy had interviews and said certain things about certain artists and he just didn't like them or this and that. So you'll see that with Scorpios. With that being in mind, it's probably more than likely hard to give Prodigy advice on something because of those 2 1s, right? Because it's very strong masculine energy. So they already think for themselves. Like, Scorpios in a way think they already know everything anyway. So to take advice from somebody, they're like, whatever, Unless, of course, but there are times where they will listen to you if, like, they're really close with you, or if they love you as a family member and they love you and respect you, or you may have a higher status quo. Also, if you're born, like, on the cusp, like with Libra, or coming off the cusp of Sagittarius, but you're still a Scorpio, then also you may take advice because Libra tends to balance things out. So if you're a Scorpio but you have, like, little traits of Libra in you from the cusp, you may want to hear things out and bounce things out and take advice. And also, if, like I said, if you're coming off the cusp to become a Sagittarius but you're really still a Scorpio, you'll listen, because Sagittarius like to learn. They're like the teacher and the student simultaneously. So they're very generous and open with that kind of aspect. So that kind of Scorpio may be more willing to hear you out and take advice here and there and put it together with what they already know and experience. Prodigy, he's a father, and Scorpio father is like him. He has 3 kids, I believe, and he was married for 17 years. And Scorpios, they're devoted. Like once they get in a relationship, they can stay pretty faithful. And even though they dominate the genital areas, the sexual areas, they can be very sexual, but once they get in a relationship, they're very in tune with that person, and they'll do all for that person, make all the sacrifices needed. And I thought that was kind of cool, seeing that. I was watching the interview with Wendy Williams, and he was talking about that he had 3 kids, and he was with his wife for 17 years. So that's what's up. And also with this too, within Prodigy, Scorpios could sometimes be, like I was saying before, they work very hard and very consistent, very restless in many ways. So they may devote a lot of their times to that and come off rigid. But since the 2 is very soft and very understanding and compassionate, he's probably a really great father, where he actually makes time for his family and he's actually there for them, or anybody that he really cares about. So I don't know him personally, but I would assume so with that 2 principle, that he really makes time for the family, try to understand and be there for them as well. He balances it very well between his work ethic and family time. So yeah,